a day before July 4th, and I was thinking about what I was going to say. I remember that July 4th, for people that look like me and others around this country, does not represent freedom to us, does not represent a happy time for us in this country. In fact, what it represents is white supremacy, genocide, and overall pain for our people. As we continue to look at our systems of oppression that affect us on a day-to-day basis, we find that basic necessities are failed to be met time in and time again, as our elected officials here in this state refuse to acknowledge the solutions and the needs of our people. Those solutions look like healthcare, those solutions look like shelter, those solutions look like an educational system that doesn't create a school-to-prison pipeline. And for some reason, in this state, elected officials, not all, but elected officials believe that you can address systemic issues one at a time, 1 year at a time. And I'm here to say that that's not how systemic oppression works. And I really struggle to find an understanding that if these people clearly understand what systemic oppression is, then why are they moving so slow? And that is the question. Either you don't understand or you don't care. And I think they don't care. And let me list a couple of reasons why. Throughout this year, one of the main focuses have been mental health resources. Providing people with resources that are not a part of the police. As the police do not protect us, and they could not be trusted to be able to be our protectors that serve the people. That's a fact. Can we hear it? So oftentimes, defund the police, reallocation of funds are continued to be brought up. And there are some people, understandably, that don't understand what that means. And I gladly want to be able to answer some of the questions. Defunding the police is being able to reallocate resources in areas that have been deprived for over 100 years in our community. It does not mean anarchy. It does not mean an unlawful society. In fact, it means the opposite. It means being able to address the poverty-ridden areas in our neighborhood that have been suffering because of the lack of resources. It means fixing our schools so we don't have SROs in our schools that create a prison for school residents. And despite multiple calls for the removal of SROs, our governor and our mayor still refuse to be for the students and our community. And the ultimate hypocrisy of them coming on 2 days ago at a press conference. Again, and thousands of people have protested in the streets, even going back to this summer, that there is still no tangible action that has been taken to end systemic racism in this state. And so now we're only left with a couple of things to do. We have to continue to fight, we have to continue to come out and advocate, and we have to vote our elected officials who are not doing what they're supposed to do, and quite frankly, ignoring the community. We must be able to reallocate funds to our community, defund the police. As I mentioned before, defunding the police does not mean anarchy, it means the exact opposite. It means that our kids aren't pepper sprayed. It means that kids aren't shot in the arm by off-duty cops that are in fact SROs. And I apologize for going on, but it's funny that somebody like Governor Dan McKee says that SROs need to stay when these same SROs are shooting kids in the arm. I think it's funny that the worst thing that Mayor Elorza could address is bad language and not pepper spraying 1-year-olds. I think the refusal of our elected officials in high places, such as leadership in the General Assembly, not even to pass a Police Accountability Act, is ridiculous. And after this summer's protest, in which all of them came out and said Black Lives Matter, you failed us. You failed our community. You failed the wishes of the community for a better state. And now, this is what happens. Because systemic issues continue. They aren't one-offs. They continue. They will continue to happen until change is needed. I just want to say that we have a great couple of speakers coming up next, and I want to give them the platform that they deserve. Thank you, everybody. Here is Justice Gaines.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming out in the rain. First, my name is Justice Amir Gaines. I am the Queer Justice Coordinator at Providence Youth Student Movement. I first want to say to the family, to everyone, to the families, and to everyone who experienced violence on Sale Street this week, whether you're a child, a parent, a young person, a neighbor, you didn't deserve what happened to you. And you probably already know that. But in case you ever have a doubt about whether you did something wrong, know that nothing you could have done should have taken that response from our police. I think I'm really tired of having to constantly be out here and demand that an organization and a department in a city that pretends to care about us and says it's for our safety cannot just learn to stop abusing and harassing and beating people. You really wouldn't think it'd be that hard. And I don't see what road we take to make them change. What I do know is that during my time in Providence, the most effective strategy has been disruption. If they can't respect our dignity, then we don't need to respect their comfort. We don't need to respect their meetings. We don't need to respect their offices. We don't need to respect their professionalism. We don't need to respect their processes. And we don't need to respect their policies. They need to change them. And so my call for all of you today is to start making these white spaces really uncomfortable. Fuck their Robert's Rules of Orders until they start giving our people the resources that we need to make sure our youth, our elders are taken care of. Instead of letting these politicians have fundraisers, maybe we need to show up and raise some hell. What I'm asking is that we stop pretending that we can break a racist system by following racist rules. And I'm not calling for anything violent, but I am asking for a disruption of the peace. Because until they give us justice, we need to make sure they don't get comfortable anymore, because it seems like they are far too comfortable standing behind a microphone and telling us pepper spray is an effective tactic to de-escalate a situation. If the police continue to think that the only way they can keep us in line is through violence, then they don't deserve a job. And now it's time for us to tell our city, it's not that the police didn't follow their policies, it's that we don't want them here anymore. This isn't about us versus them. This is about whether we're going to prioritize control or whether we're going to prioritize compassion. And I'm sick of being out here and having to scream my compassion into a mic just so they can pretend that they care. It's time we continue to disrupt their comfort until they actually show us they do.
Thank you so much, Justice. Everybody give it up for Justice Gaines. And so what we know is we have people in our community, like Justice, like all of you, who come out despite it raining and probably thundering out, that want change. And want change bad enough to be able to stand out in the rain and call for change. And I appreciate everybody being here. And it's that, with that support, that we need out in the ballot. We need to be able to elect progressive officials that aren't afraid to stick their neck out, aren't afraid to get dirty looks, aren't afraid to be able to not gain political points by the establishment that has been killing us and participating in systemic oppression. One of those politicians that have stood up for us is David Morales, Representative David Morales. Everybody give it up for David Morales.
Thank you all again for taking the time to be here, because this has been, without a doubt, one of the most stressful weeks in terms of police violence happening in the backyards here in Providence, Rhode Island, because time and time again, Providence police are continuing to demonstrate and show us without shame that they do not care for our communities. They have no compassion for the people that live here, especially for those with black and brown skin. We have seen enough, and I'm tired of demanding accountability that unfortunately it's very hard to imagine will ever happen because of the broken systems that we have in place. Because of the systems that allow for racist police officers to roam the streets and attack our lives, attack our people, as if our lives are a game to play with. So let the record show that the Providence Police called us animals. Let the record show that the Providence Police sprayed our youth, then proceeded to beat and assault working people of color in their neighborhoods. Let the record show that the Providence Police officials held a press conference yesterday where they defended their use of pepper spray on youth and argued that they were in the right of the law and following policy when it came to the physical beatings that they had vulnerable people experience. So let the record show now that the Providence Police are trying to hide behind their badge, behind the privileges of a broken system and laws that protect them, while still trying to criminalize the victims of police brutality. And let the record show that the Providence Police do not care about our communities, as many of them are simply just conservative, middle-aged white men that do not live in our city. Instead, they choose to work here because Providence is known as the place where the quote-unquote action is. Providence is the place where law enforcement officials come to have fun at our expense because they know there is no accountability. And let the record show for the good cops that were watching the beatings taking place, the good cops that were just following orders are just as guilty as the ones committing. Just as guilty as the ones committing these acts of violence. And we already knew all this. We already knew that they didn't care for us. But this last week just further demonstrated and helped us visualize the pleasure that our local law enforcement gets with playing our lives, like again, as if it were a game. Because they know they won't be held accountable, nor do they fear that their department, that this beautiful complex, will ever lose an ounce of funding. Despite everything that happened last year, all the demonstrations, all the grassroots demonstrations led by young people of color, the Providence Police Department has seen an increase in their police funding. They have seen an increase in funding to recruit 50 new officers. majority of which they're trying very hard to make sure are black and brown. Because they don't believe in actual systemic change. They just believe that if the faces that are beating us look like us, then the response won't be as harsh as it has been so far. Because we are here because we refuse to be intimidated. We are here 3 days out of over dozens of youth and people being pepper sprayed and beaten. Because we're demanding change. We're demanding justice. And we're going to fight to keep our tax dollars away from them, to ensure that we don't continue to fund these places of brutality, these acts of violence. Because it's justice, the speaker before me just said, no longer can we continue to play by their rules in these politics, these respectability politics where we're supposed to behave. Because that has proven that nothing will change. And with that, it is important we continue to show up. We continue to show that we will not be intimidated by the criminals behind those doors, those criminals with the badges. And our community deserves better than that, and we will show them that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Please give it up for Representative David Morales. Before I go to my next speaker, I would really like to address something that's been truly disgusting the last 3 days. The amount of disrespect from conservatives and people on social media, from people in the media, such as John DePietro, is disgusting. It's disgusting. And I'm sick and tired of white supremacists coming on our spaces that we are trying to pretend and we are trying to cope with, come out and call us liars, call us jerks, threatening our lives. It's ridiculous. It needs to stop. And I would expect the people who say, oh, we're going to protect everybody, to address it. But we all know that they're not. You want to know why? Because police protect white supremacy and the white power structure, that's why. And anything outside of capital or land, they don't care. They don't care. In fact, I would argue that some politicians in this state care more about the land of the people that were pepper sprayed more than they do about the actual people. And so with that said, I would like to introduce our next speaker, an LGBTQIA plus advocate. And that's one thing that obviously this Pride Month, last month, was shown that if we're going to make true progress, we all need to come together as working class people and fight against elitists. And so I want to introduce Grayson Rose. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, everybody. So I'm not usually the one that's behind the microphone speaking. I'm usually the one taking photos. But I want to start off by telling a story. This is a story of my life. Just a little tidbit. 5 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night living in East Providence to a gun pointed in my face at 5 years old. The police officer looks at me in the face with the gun aimed, ready to pull the trigger, because my mother was dating a very bad person. The cop proceeded to kick my mother in the face for no reason besides saying, "Don't hurt my baby." That was 19 years ago. This shit is still happening. Another police officer 3 days ago kneeled on a young woman's neck after calling her a female. Are you fucking kidding me?
Fuck that!
Yeah, fuck that. A 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old were pepper sprayed? And then you have the people on Facebook and social media saying, why were they outside? There is no excuse! Police officers need to be defunded. They need to have reform, and all the money that is going to them needs to go to the right people. Because clearly they don't know what the hell they're doing. I am tired of living in fear, being a half-black man. Having to worry if I get pulled over, am I going to get shot? No. I will not live in fear. I will not sit here and question what is going to happen next. These people need to get their shit together. Our elected officials need to get their shit together. I'm not talking about the good ones. I'm talking about the ones that want to sit here and say SROs belong. No. Jorge Alorza, you know for a fact you were called out because you did not show up to either press conference. One was held here. One was held where it happened. And you didn't show. I was just there with you at a flag raising. And you want to say that you're a Black Lives Matter advocate. You're an LGBTQIA plus advocate. But where the hell were you? I know you saw my Facebook post. Show the fuck up for your city or step the hell down.
Thank you so much, Grayson. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is our newest BLM-RI PAC Chief of Staff, Kamika Ross.
Can you hear me? Is good? Is this good?
That's good,
Okay.
yeah.
So thank you everybody for coming out today. I do want to start off and give my love to the families that were affected on Tuesday. It's very sad. I'm speaking very quickly just to say that I'm very disappointed in the press conference that was held yesterday by the city. For one, the fact that they emphasized that the behavior of the police, they said it wasn't acceptable because they didn't de-escalate. And for me, that's a major problem because it's okay that police pepper spray kids or pepper spray or try to go into a crowd when the crowd is protecting someone, a member of their family. They have the situation under control. Why do you feel because you have a badge and a gun that you need to come in and interfere in that situation? From what I saw, they had it under control. We do not need police in our communities. When we call for defunding, when we take funds away from you and give it to us, our students need better schools. We need access to health care. Those kids are now traumatized. Are you now going to go pay for their fucking health care? Are you going to pay for them to go see a therapist so that they don't have to live every day of their lives fighting? I think not. And I'm sorry that I'm very emotional right now. And I'm tired of these systems blaming us for the fact that we get brutalized. I'm tired of them saying, oh, they follow procedure. Well, your procedure is fucked up. Are the reason that I am scared every time I see a fucking police officer. Your policies and procedures are the reason why I am terrified every night that I walk down the street of every night I walk out my house. Your policies and procedures are the reason why we are calling for defunding you. Because your policies and procedures do not protect anybody except for yourself. And for all of those elected officials who are out last year and supporting us claiming Black Lives Matter, if you are not supporting repealing Leopold, then you do not care about Black lives. If you are supporting legislation that gives more money to the police for fucking body cameras when we are out here being killed and we see that on the fucking film, we do not need to give you more money. So do not calling for defunding the police something radical, because it's not. It's taking back our communities, holding the motherfuckers that are accountable to us accountable. We don't want you. So why are you here? I just ask that everybody keep those families that were affected on Tuesday in their hearts, in your minds. And when you see them, give them a hug. Say, I love you. Well, that's what I said. Say, I love you. Because that is what's going to give us the strength to continue this fight for the next 100 years or however long it takes until we dismantle this shit. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kamika. Our next speaker is also one of the most prominent progressive elected officials, very much like Representative David Morales, making change. I give you Senator Sam Bell.
Thank you all for coming out here. You know, when rounds of protests last summer, inside the halls of power, you know what everyone said? They said, this isn't a problem we have here.
Louder!
They said, this isn't a problem that we have here in Rhode Island.
No, you're good. You're good.
And you know what? What we saw on Sales Ave was just yet another piece of proof that was bullshit. That here in Rhode Island, these problems are real. This is a problem here in Rhode Island with the cops in Rhode Island. The Providence Police, especially the Pawtucket Police, and the State Police.
Fucking statey.
And that means we have to take action here. And what happened after historic protests, after thousands and thousands of Rhode Islanders marching in the streets, what our government did was basically nothing. And so of course it's going to keep happening. Of course we're going to keep seeing rounds and rounds of police brutality. When we don't change anything, we're going to keep seeing the same thing happening over and over and over again. We have to take action. We have to pass Senator Matt's bill to repeal the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. Not reform it, not tweak it. We need to repeal it. We, instead of funding, 50 new cops for the Providence Police, 28 new state police cops, we need to defund the state police and the Providence Police. And definitely the Pawtucket Police, where, oh my God, are things out of control. You know, when that cop, off-duty Pawtucket cop, shot up that car and shot the teenager in the arm, West Greenwich, I ran into the mayor of Pawtucket right afterwards. And I told him, it's a huge problem. He got all defensive. In our conversations, he said that the shooting of Dominique Silva, who was a young black man shot dead by the Pawtucket police, they said he had a gun. It turned out to be a BB gun. And he said that that was a good shooting.
What the fuck is a good shooting?
There is no such thing as a good shooting. No one shot dead by the police is a good shooting. We've got a huge problem here in our state. And everyone who's been brutalized by the police in Rhode Island, these are real people. And it's time for the policymakers in our state to understand that we have to take action. This is not some abstract thing for other people. And I'm going to renew my call for Mayor Jorge Alorza to fire Steve Perry, fire Chief Clements, and to clean out the entire updraft of the Providence Police. It can be done. We did it with the state police and replaced them with people who were just as bad. But you can do it and actually replace them with good people. It's theoretically possible. I believe we can do it. And if Jorge Alorza keeps the same people in power at the Providence Police, and they keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's his responsibility. And you know what else we don't talk about very much? This mayor personally controls all of the prosecutorial decisions in this city. In other places, there's an elected DA, not Providence, all controlled by the mayor through the police. This mayor is the one who chooses to overcharge people, chooses to criminalize substance use disorder. These are decisions made by our mayor. We have to change this. We have to uproot this system, root and branch, and we have a lot of work to do. And I don't want to be standing here year after year with episode of police brutality, one after another after another. We had a year where we did nothing. We can't have another year like that. This next year, we have to demand that our politicians take action. And if they don't, they need to be voted out in the primaries in 2022.
Thank you so much, Senator. Up next, we have another speaker who's doing amazing work with our youth, our BIPOC youth. I would like to introduce Vanessa from prison.
Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi. 3 things. 1. White people, I need y'all to stop taking the mic. If you are not directly impacted by this, step back. If you are not a youth of color, step back. If you are not a queer and trans youth of color, step back. If you are not directly impacted by this work, step back. Because you are in our way, okay? And I'm being very explicit about that. Because we have been doing this work, all right? I know my youth have been doing this work. I know my people have been doing this work long before George Floyd. We've been doing this work since 2014, all right? So since Ferguson happened. We've been doing this work since Cornell Young was murdered by police, all right? So it's important for us to remember one thing. BIPOC youth, queer and trans youth of color, survivors, people who have experienced this crap, we need to step forward and take up the space that keeps being stolen from us. 2, this work has been happening for so long, okay? It's not just last year. This is decades and decades of work. So stop saying just last year, because you are diminishing the power of people who have come before you, who have helped pave this way, so that we can be here right now telling these cops to go fuck themselves. 3rd, for all of you supposed good cops, quit your job.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Question, can everybody hear me in the back? Can people hear me in the back? No? If people wanna come up to the side over here where the signs are, maybe that would be a better way. Does anybody have a megaphone?
Hi, this is Will James for Uprise-RI. This is a defund police protest at the Providence Police Headquarters. Apologize for camera trouble earlier. It is raining. We're using a phone.
But I do want to agree with the folks that have spoken. The only thing that we are going to be able to do to make these folks be accountable is to make sure that we have a full repeal of the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights. So all familiar with that, it's only about 19 provisions that you need to read. It takes about 7 minutes to read over all the provisions that are available. You can look it up online. You can go to Tiara Mac's website. or Facebook page. She has explicitly explained it over and over again. That is the only way that these officers will ever be held accountable. There's an instrument that protects them from being held accountable. We will not be able to get anyone fired over the next how many years unless this instrument is removed. This protection agency has been used to protect these officers from being held accountable. And it's time that we invest our time and our money into making sure that this instrument that protects them is removed. There is nothing else that the black community wants. We don't want no more painted streets. We don't want no more murals that get knocked down. We don't want any more of these protests until we focus on the number one objective, and that is to repeal reabort. It is the only thing that is going to balance and give us leverage in the future, because they all need limited liability insurance. Each and every single one of these officers are unqualified. They're all unqualified because they've been taught by the administration here, and this administration has refused to do their job. They are only holding these people accountable for 2 days. The officer that said, "Do you want more?" He was the same officer on duty at the Jamal incident on Elmwood Avenue. He needs to be removed from his position. He never needs to be back on the street again. Never. You have officers that have broke every ethics conduct thing in every single one of them. We have to remove them. They're only going to be suspended for 2 days. We're going to pay them. They're going to go to Oklahoma, hang out in the casino, come back on the 16th, get arraigned, and then go home, hang out with their families. And if they're lucky, they might do 2 days in jail. That's what's happening out here. We need to make sure that we remove the instrument that protects them. Remember, it's the Law Officers Bill of Rights. That's the only thing that we should be talking about here, because that's the only way that we are going to hold these officials accountable. Nothing else, anything else is uncivilized. That's it. You can have this mic. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Is that microphone on?
Yes.
I want to ask, everyone is still in, but I know we're all cold. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Woo! That was a teacher thing. Oh my God. I am State Representative Marcia Ranglin-Bassel, and I am so grateful that you are on here, or we're on here today. Woo! Yeah. I am here today because Black Lives Matter. Let me just say that again. I am here because Black Lives Matter. I am here because Brown Lives Matter. I am here because poor people's lives matter. It is not okay for police to beat up young children, old people, anybody. Yeah. So I am here because I'm a mom, a grandmother, a public school teacher, and because I'm a human being. I today because what happened to those young children, and I spoke to them a couple of days ago, and it really broke my heart. It broke my heart because in those faces of the children that I saw my own 3 black kids. I saw my son. I saw my grandson. I saw my students. I saw all of us standing here today. This is what we need to do. First of all, thank you all for coming here.
Thank you.
Woo! Thank you all, because all of us had a choice where we could be, but we chose to be here today because this is important to our community and Black Lives Matter. I don't think you can teach. I'm a teacher for over 30 years. You cannot legislate or teach people to be decent who are racist. You just can't. Some people just cannot learn. And when you look at 1-year-old child or a 14-year-old child and you pepper spray them, you do not see the humanity of those children. When you look at people's children and you call them animals, you do not see children. I have done this way too many times. I'm tired. So this is what we need to do. First and for all, we need to vote if you're not registered, because this is a call to action now. Because power is in your hands. This is what you can do. You can hold your official, the people that you voted for, accountable. And if they don't do what you sent us, let me put myself in this, I give you permission to vote us all out. If the people that you elected are not doing the job, you need to vote them out, including Marcia Ragland Bassett. It is not okay. What I saw on the video is not okay. It's reprehensible. What I saw on the video brought tears to my eyes. And I'm telling you, if I was their mom and I was there, I would be in jail. It is not okay. We cannot train cops that are racist. You just can't train them. So what do we need to do with racist cops? We need, no, you gotta listen to me now. Follow me. We need to fire racist cops. That's it. That's it. Retire. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's not okay. So let me talk to the kids for a moment. Let me talk to the little kids for a moment. First of all, Mrs. Ragland Bassett is so sorry. I am so sorry for what you went through. I am so sorry, and it really pains my heart. Come over here, please. Can I touch you? Is that okay? Okay. I am so sorry for what you went through. I am so sorry. Do you know anybody that happened to? I am sorry. I am so sorry. Look at this beautiful child. This is our child. This little girl belongs to the community. This little girl belongs to all of us. And it's not okay. It is not okay for people to come into Providence and beat up our kids. So I'm going to say something that may be pretty radical right now. We need to reinforce the system where people who work in the city or cops in the city should live in this darn city. Yes. I am so sorry, sweetie. You shouldn't have to go through this. But can I tell you something? You're gonna be okay. I am so glad that you are here today. I am so glad that you are here today. Be strong. Ask for help. Ask your mommy for help. And I'm gonna give you my card before I leave. I'm gonna give you my number. And I want to be your best friend. Is that okay? God bless you, everybody. Stay strong. We're in this together. We will rise, or we will rise together, because Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! God bless Black Lives Matter!
Hello everyone, my name is Enrique Sanchez. I'm the political director of the BLM-RI PAC. I work closely with Harrison Tuttle at the PAC, and we work closely with all the progressive orgs, Prod DSA, Reclaim, Sunrise, all the leftist groups, whether you're a communist or anarchist or a socialist or progressive, or you're BLM, or you're for brown lives or indigenous lives, or all the youth, all the student left groups, PRISM, Cycle, PSU, Arise, Youth in Action, all of these groups, all of these progressive groups and political organizations, we're all putting in the fucking work. But you know what? We keep saying we need to vote people out, we need to get involved in electoral politics, but I'm ready to burn this motherfucker down. I'm ready to burn this motherfucker down because that's it. People are tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing black and brown people hurt all the time. This past week, three police involvements that involved a police officer shooting a group of young men in West Greenwich, a Pawtucket, a Providence police officer that ran a store in Warwick, and then this bullshit happens here in Providence where 20 young people were hurt. 20 young black and brown people were hurt, a 1-year-old pepper spray. We can't talk about getting involved in electoral politics. We can't talk about voting people out. We can't talk about reform when this shit is happening in our communities. This place, this entire building here, and I don't care, like, this needs to come down ASAP because people are fucking tired. I'm fucking tired. We've been trying to work for years after years. Like Vanessa said, this isn't just last year. Black and brown people have been beaten, murdered. Yeah, people have been beaten, murdered, kicked in the streets. Poor people, working class people, we're all victims of the perpetuated police violence that has disrupted our communities over the years. We are the way we are because years of mismanagement of funds, racist systems in our schools, our public schools have torn apart our education for our young black and brown. I'm involved in the Providence Public School System, trying to put in the work as a substitute teacher. I've been in this job for a year, but they keep telling us that we need to play nice, that we need to do things right, do things right, get an education, get involved, teach our young children. But how the fuck are we supposed to do things right when these motherfuckers are out here killing our young people, pepper spraying our young youth? Like, come on, like there is no playing nice when the system is not playing nice with us. So I don't know. I'm sick and tired. I keep getting told to run for office, do this and that. but I can't go against my morals, my convictions, when these people aren't playing nice with us. So it's time that we fucking start getting our shit together, mobilize, start getting armed to the teeth, and start doing things radically, more radically than the way things are. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Enrique. Next up, I know Justice Gaines has spoken before, but Justice would like to add one more thing. Everybody give it up for Justice.
Sorry, y'all, I don't like taking the mic more than once, but when I hear some of the same narratives be repeated for the last decade, it hurts. And so I'm right with you, Enrique. I'm where you're at. And I just need to remind folks that black people did not get the right to vote by voting. We did not get our right to participate in democracy by participating in democracy. We had to demand it, we had to fight for it, we had to take it. And so, for all of the politicians here, for all of your friends, for any politician who speaks at a mic this upcoming summer, last summer, I want to see your plans to disrupt the State House. And I'm not talking with legislation. I want to see your direct action. I want to see when the sit-ins are going to happen. I want to see when you're going to ask us to come in there with you and hold the building. I want to see real shit from y'all. If you believe that your job is going to save us, then you have also confused your role in what's going on.
But we still appreciate your support.
Right on. All right. So we have one more speaker, someone who is a mental health specialist in our schools. This is someone I just met, but I think she would be able to give a great insight on being able to provide resources for kids and less police. Everybody give it up for Ruth.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? I'm a school social worker in Providence, and coming into this building, the state-of-the-art buildings, do you know what the conditions are of the buildings for the students in Providence? Do you know what message that gives to the kids of what they're worth in these buildings that should be condemned? When people say we need the police for crisis intervention and de-escalation, I've been a social worker in this state for 14 years. I've stood between a man who was suicidal trying to get the police to shoot him and was able to de-escalate and get that man onto an ambulance without anyone being injured. I've gotten in between domestic violence situations, parents beating their kids, people who are actively psychotic, intoxicated, and you want to know how many times I've ever been injured on the job? None! Social workers can do this. We have the training to do this. We have the empathy, the compassion to do this. And I'm held accountable by the Rhode Island Department of Health and the Rhode Island Department of Education to not step out of line. And I have to have a master's degree and do continuing education every year. And I'm sure I make a lot less than these guys do. These students, these children that were injured and that witnessed it, I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we go back to school. I asked one of the higher-ups yesterday, what can the social work department do? If anyone wants to speak to me after this, I will volunteer my time to help the families and help the children who have been impacted, and I will help amass resources for you. This is collective trauma. Providence is so small that there are hundreds of people who are going to say, my aunt was there, my cousin was there, my friend was there. This is massive trauma for our students. And we don't have the resources in Providence to deal with it. The National Association of Social Workers says there should be one social worker for every 500 students. Maybe 1 to 2,000 in some of these larger schools. What are we supposed to do? How can we help? How can we assist? Defund the police. Get rid of the SROs. I don't want them there. My students are terrified of the police. I hear little kids discussing their terror of the police. It's the boogeyman for them. So no, we don't need police to respond to violent crime and arrest their way out of problems. They don't know how to de-escalate. They don't have the training. And when you dehumanize people and call them animals, it's really easy to brutalize them. Thank you for coming out in the rain. And please, if there's anything I can do to help the families with resources, please contact me.
And it looks like the rain is telling us to all go home. That is the last of our speakers. I want to thank each and every single one of you for coming out. I want everybody to give one round of applause for all of you. Thank you. With that said, we're going to lead off with this protest as we're going to go disperse with the Black Lives Matter chant. Black Lives Matter! 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 Everybody put their fists up. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Louder! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Thank you, everybody. Be safe.
What's going on, Steve? How you doing? Excellent. It's always good to see you, man.
Yeah, well, we're there, even in this rain.
Yes. Yeah, I see you out here fighting a good fight. Always appreciate y'all.
Wait, your name is
There's a couple breezes where it just knocked the entire umbrella all down.
Hi, this is Will James for Uprise-RI. This is a defund the police protest in response to children in Providence being pepper sprayed, arrested, or beaten by police, as well as young adults and some adults. Some people were held in the back of a van without AC for an hour. That person pointed out that in Rhode Island, you can be arrested for keeping a dog in a hot car for around 20 minutes, and yet human beings were kept in a van for over an hour during a heat wave. people today, getting very specific. There are some politicians here who were sharing their support, but people called them out and said, we need you to do more. We don't need you to just pass laws. We want you to see direct action, sit-ins at the State House. So they're asking for politicians to come together with activists and do some sort of direct action. I think literally at the or inside the State House. I think that's what was suggested. Definitely, if you're on desktop, you can scroll back and see those. And I'll also edit a video later, I guess. I mean, I will, yes. Steve Alquist is also here recording. I've apologized if some of the audio is not amazing. It is raining. Obviously, that's going to create extra noise. This is Will James for Uprise-RI. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to look at uprise-ri.com for in-depth reporting. If you're someone who has seen videos and you say, I want to see the full story, please take a look at our website so you can hear from the families and the children and learn more about the situation. There's also links to the body cam footage if you are the kind of person that does not trust Uprise yet and you need to kind of see it for yourself. Definitely hold us accountable for the things we say. This is a news organization. We are not just live streamers. Thank you. Thank you to our Patreon supporters also, who support us with I think about $3,500 in funds every month. We appreciate it. It allows us to buy equipment and pay ourselves sometimes. Have a great day.